Hi everybody, it's Adam, the geneticist and genomic data scientist from Verdure Healthcare, and welcome to my talk on chromosome 12 part 2. Alright, so just to give you a reminder, whereby in the human body we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And today we're going to talk about the 12 largest chromosomes in the human body. Okay, so just to give you a bit of a refresher before we jump right into it. Okay, on the human body we have many cells, but within each cell there is a command center called the nucleus, and within the nucleus there will be the commanders called the chromosome. So chromosome in a way is equivalent to DNA and a gene, except this whole structure is the DNA and the gene packed neatly and tidily together. So you can imagine like a ball of string, so you can't use this, right, just the whole ball, but you need to pull it out. So it is exactly the same for the human DNA, whereby when you pull out the genes, only then the gene reading machine in our body can read whatever code that is in there. Alright, so every life form is made out of 4 genetic ingredients, namely G, C, A, and T. Alright? So there are 2 levels of genetic diseases. Single gene disorder, meaning to say that one or 2 of these genetic codes were missing, duplicated, or substituted, and it is enough to cause the disease. Okay, chromosomal abnormality is even more serious, whereby either you have an extra piece of chromosome, missing chromosome, duplicated parts of the chromosome, or deleted part of the chromosome. So these are examples of chromosomal abnormalities. Okay, so chromosome 12, like you have heard from me last time, there are 6 diseases, and it's a very difficult chromosome. So in the last session, we talked about Kabuki syndrome, Pallister-Killian mosaic syndrome, PKU. So in this session, we're gonna look at Noonan syndrome, Vomvillebrand disease, and Zelwaja syndrome. Okay, so the first disease, called the Noonan syndrome, as you are able to tell already, babies with this particular disease, they have a very distinctive facial feature. Now this is of course a drawing, okay, but typically they have a lot of facial dysmorphology and congenital heart defects, alright? Okay, and what are the heart defects? So this is mainly the concern here. So the 2 most common one is the pulmonary stenosis. Alright, what is pulmonary stenosis? Alright, so this is the normal heart. Let's have a look at this particular valve over here. So normally it should be nice and thin and effective valve. But if, let's say, around this muscle, around the valve, it gets thickened, then it will affect the blood flow. Alright? So in this case, it's going to cause a lot of problems. And the other one is called the Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy, whereby, as you can see over here, a normal heart, okay, so this is a normal heart, this is the easier picture for you to see, but with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, you have a very thick heart muscle, okay? Just like this over here. And as a result, the heart cannot pump enough blood around the body. But anyway, just to share more information with you, there is an exact opposite kind of disease. It's called the Familial Dilated Cardiomyopathy. So both are cardiomyopathy, whereby it involves the defect of the heart muscle, whereby dilated, it means that the heart muscle gets thinned. Okay, but that, of course, that is another disease. So anyway, coming back to the Noonan syndrome, whereby other associated features include chest deformity, mild intellectual deficit, alright, poor feeding in infancy, that means they cannot eat, they cannot swallow, they cannot digest the food, bleeding tendency, and lymphatic dysplasias. Alright? And in approximately 50% of the cases, that means that 1 in 2 babies with Noonan Syndrome, all right, it's caused by the PTPN11 gene. Okay, so obviously this is located in chromosome 12, but this is a gain of function of the non-receptor protein. It's called the triphosphate SHP2 protein. Okay, so as you can see that this is the chromosome, but for this part, when it gets duplicated, there is a gain of function. So majority of people will think that, okay, the genetic disease is a result of something being missing, but that is often not the case, because for duplicated mutations, you have extra piece of DNA material, and that is how it causes the disease. All right, so moving on, we have the Vomvillebrand disease, whereby this is a blood clotting disorder, all right, or it's called the bleeding disorder, whereby it slows the blood clotting process, and it will be causing prolonged bleeding after an injury. So it will clot, but it's just very slow. All right. So people with this condition often experience easy bruising, long-lasting nosebleeds, and excessive bleeding. So after an injury or surgery, or even dental work, they have oozing effect, meaning to say the blood will ooze out. Okay. So the mutation in this gene called the VWF causes the Vomvillebrand disease. Okay, so one more disease we're going to talk about for chromosome 12 is called Zelwaja Syndrome. So it is quite a rare genetic disorder where it affects infants and usually results in death. Okay, so most infants do not survive past the first 6 months with this particular disease, and they usually die of respiratory distress, gastrointestinal bleeding, or liver failure. So either one of these or multiple factors add up together. Okay, so the Zelwaja syndrome is caused by a mutation in the PXR1 gene, all right? And the PXR1 gene, all right, is a product of receptors found on the surface of these cells, okay, including the animal skin cells, the liver, kidney, and the brain cells. They all have this kind of receptor. So let's just put it in simple terms. The PXR1 is producing a receptor that is found in these animal cells, okay? So the Zelwaja syndrome usually will come out, okay, the problems will come out during the prenatal development. So including an enlarged liver, all right, high levels of iron and copper in the blood that will cause organ damage, vision disturbance, and yeah, these are pretty much the most obvious symptoms. Okay, more importantly, this is a metabolic and neurological abnormality, and it will cause fatal kind of like effects during the fetal development. And of course, there can be treatments, but just not now, and they are very limited. So like we have talked about last time, as for the treatment of these genetic diseases, we have 5 levels of them. Mutated gene, you can do a gene therapy. Mutated protein, you can do a protein replacement. Metabolic dysfunction, you can have either diet or pharmacological agents to compensate for it. If you have organ malfunction, such as the enlarged liver that we talked about, you might need organ transplant. So all of these are either unavailable, very limited, or very difficult. Okay, so the most sensible kind of way to cure this disease is actually to prevent it. All right, so prevention is better than cure. So with genetic counseling and genetic testing, we will be able to catch, all right, these diseases. So with Verdure Healthcare, we have something called the pre-pregnancy DNA screening, okay, whereby we will be able to pick up 420 of Asia's most common genetic diseases. So why do that? Why do the testing Okay, back in 2015, the University of Chicago Medical School says that humans carry 1 to 2 lethal recessive mutations on average, study estimates. And with humans carrying on average 1 to 2 mutation, that, if inherited from both parents, can cause severe genetic disorder or death before reaching reproductive age. And coming back to Malaysia's case, this is an article published by Specialist Center. They are saying that yearly around 16,500 of Malaysia's 550,000 babies are afflicted with congenital abnormalities, and about 1/3 may succumb to these illnesses before reaching their first birthday. So put that into layman language, they are saying that every year Malaysia has about 500,000 or 550,000 babies being born. But out of that, there is 16,500 babies that are being affected with genetic diseases. And out of these 16,500 babies, about 1/3 of them won't make it to their first birthday. So this is actually a very scary and also very upsetting kind of statistic, which we at Verdure Healthcare are trying our ultimate best to help you prevent. So with our pre-pregnancy DNA screening, the first part is actually the analysis of all 23 chromosomes in the human body. So as you can tell that with an X and a Y, this is a male partner. So let me show you a sample report. So this is one of the report that we have, so we need to blanco every detail. So, okay, as you can see, this is the report, all right? So this is the chromosomal lineup. So from the largest chromosome all the way to the smallest chromosome, and this is the sex chromosome. So there is the interpretation and the comment as well. Okay, so for the female partner, here's the difference. You see, 2 X's. Okay, so what are we looking for here? So there are 5 major kind of symptoms, all right, let's just put it that way, symptoms we are looking for. Deletion, which means that there is some materials being deleted from the chromosome. Duplicated, which means that there is some extra piece of information being duplicated. And if you might be able to recall, we have one duplication syndrome that we just talked about in chromosome 12. Okay, inversion, which means that there is no gain or loss of information. It is just the position of the genetic material that has been swapped. And as for substitution, it means that one chromosome's material has gone to another chromosome. Okay, so for example, this is chromosome 4. Something from chromosome 4 has gone to chromosome 20. And now chromosome 20 actually has something from chromosome 4. If, let's say, you are the person being affected, you will be fine. You will be okay. Why? Because as long as you have 100% of the genetic material, you will be okay, regardless of the position. But if, let's say, if you inherit this thing, okay, just this half, all right, chromosome 20 with something from chromosome 4, if you inherit this to your baby, and that means that your baby will have some extra chromosome 4 information. Now, the effect will be quite equivalent to a duplication syndrome. Okay, so the last thing we look out for is the translocation, whereby, okay, substitution is just one way. Okay, so something from chromosome 4 has gone to chromosome 20. But what happens if, let's say, something from chromosome 20 has also come to chromosome 4? All right, so as you can see, this part is chromosome 4, this part is chromosome 20, this part is chromosome 20, but this part is chromosome 4. Now, I know this is confusing, that's why we as geneticists and we as the genetic counselors, we need to be able to do risk assessment. We need to be able to plan for you a fertility solution in order to prevent these things from passing on to your next generation. Okay? So for inversion, substitution, translocation, remember, you will be fine. It is just that there is a very high risk of inheriting these things to your next generation, and they will be affected by this genetic defect. Okay, so the next part would be the analysis of whether you are carrying one or multiple diseases from the portfolio of 420 Asia's most common genetic diseases. All right, so as you can see, this is a very complicated process because not only that we need to put up your chromosome and line them up, we need to zoom in and to see the DNA that is being contained in there. So this is the process to culture the DNA, to bring it out, and only then we are able to use something called the next generation sequencing in order to analyze whether or not there is a mutation. Okay, let me show you a sample report. So this is an older version, all right? So as you can see that this guy is carrying 3 diseases, but let me show you a new version of the report now. So as you can see that, okay, it means single result, meaning to say that they put up the ones that has, that this particular husband is a carrier of. So as you can see that this is the male partner, whereby he's carrying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 diseases. So this guy is carrying 9 genetic diseases in his body, but he is fine. There is no symptom in him, okay, because he's only a carrier. Remember, for these called the chromosomal recessive, okay, syndromes, okay, you need 2 chromosomes to have this mutation in order to become affected. Okay, so given that, we also found an extra 51 genetic mutations in his body across 41 genes. Sounds scary, but let's just put it that way, nobody's perfect. And now we need to worry about his wife, because if, let's say, his wife is also carrying one of the same diseases, then there will be trouble if, let's say, they are planning for pregnancy. So this lady here, she's carrying 1, 2, 3, 4 diseases, and of course another 51 genetic mutations across, again, 41 genes. And unfortunately, there is one overlap. It's called the Adrenal Hyperplasia Congenital Hyperandrogenism Non-Classic Type due to 21 hydroxylase deficiency. Okay, as you can see, I can't even read out this name in one breath. So, what's going on here? Okay, let's have a look. Because our report now is so advanced, we know that what is the gene that causes this disease, okay, or causes this mutation, and in this case, it's called the CYP21A2 gene. And we know the significance, which means the potential effect if this mutation is being brought out. Okay, it is likely pathogenic. That means that there are records of people who inherit this mutation becomes affected and the symptoms of adrenal hyperplasia come out. Genetic variation, we know that what has changed. So for example, this is C.1174 from G to A. So it has changed from G to A, right? So the GCAT now is usable here. Okay, so genomic location, now this is located in chromosome 6, and it takes up this particular location. All right, so I'm not going to read it out because honestly, you don't really have to know this information, but as geneticists, we need to know. Why? Because if, let's say, in this particular case, the husband and the wife shares the same carrying mutation, there is a 25% chance of their offspring getting this adrenal hyperplasia if they were to get pregnant. So the solution is that we need to send them off to IVF. We need to send them off to IVF, and I personally communicated with the medical director over there at the fertility center to discuss with him these effects, these locations, the genes of what we need to look out for, what we need to pick out. So this is a highly precise, personalized medicine. Okay, so let's talk about what is adrenal hyperplasia. So adrenal hyperplasia is an inherited disorder that affects the adrenal gland. and the adrenal gland is located just above the kidneys, and this particular factory produces many hormones such as adrenaline, cortisol, prolactin, which regulates many essential functions of the body. So people with adrenal hyperplasia, they will produce excess male hormones such as the androgens. All right. So if let's say this is a guy, it might not have a significant problem. But if let's say this is a lady, she will have excessive body hair and sometimes even covering the face and other parts of the body. She might have irregular or absent menstrual period and a severe acne, meaning the pimples on the face. But there is one more problem we discovered in this couple here. The husband is carrying something called the familial dilated cardiomyopathy. Now, if you have been listening, just now when I talked about the diseases, I have mentioned about this disease, familial dilated cardiomyopathy, whereby this is a very severe disease. Okay, but most importantly, we know what is the gene that causes this disease. We know the effects, so we confirm that this is pathogenic, it is harmful, it is lethal. We know the variant, we know the genomic location, we know the transcripts. Transcript meaning to say the protein that is being produced, okay? And of course the genomic changes. Okay. But more importantly, familial dilated cardiomyopathy means that when the heart muscles get thin, obviously more blood will be pumped in. However, the thinner the muscle, the least effective it is in pumping blood. So in order to compensate for this, the heart will pump even harder. So from time to time, what's going to happen is that there will be heart failures, all right? So sometimes the signs and symptoms include irregular heartbeat, shortness of breath, extreme tiredness or fatigue, fainting episodes, so just suddenly when you're walking or when you talk to people, you faint suddenly, and the swelling of the leg and the feet. And what we are afraid of is the first sign would be sudden cardiac death. So this husband over here is already around 43 years old when they came in. Plus, there's one more thing. Let me go back to the previous slide. As you can see that there is actually 2 mutations that is causing this disease. So it means that this is double powered and it's not a good sign. So what I did was I sent him off to the cardiologist immediately, and I have to share this information with the cardiologist. So we have done some CT scan with this person over here, and we have actually given some preventive measures so to actually prevent any of the symptoms from happening. But more importantly, this disease follows the autosomal dominant manner, whereby what happens is that, so one chromosome being affected is enough to cause this genetic disease. That means that there is 50% chance of the offspring being inherited with the disease and becomes affected. So now we have 2 things to worry about, the adrenal hyperplasia and the familial dilated cardiomyopathy, which we have to pick out. And ultimately, I send him off to IVF center. I share this information with the medical director. We both come up with a solution so that the embryologist can actually look out for whatever, the embryos that has this particular genetic mutation. Okay, so this screening is done by our partner called the Genomics Lab. They have been in Malaysia for a very long time. They are one of the first genetic diagnostics lab in Malaysia, and they are the only lab that has been accredited by the College of American Pathologists. Okay, so with us at Verdure Healthcare, we have 18 years of experience. So we are able to coordinate the services in order to make sure you have the healthiest baby that you dream of. And in terms of qualification, I have the postgraduate certificate in surgery. So I'm certified as an instructor of surgery. However, I no longer teach surgery. And what I do is now genetic testing. So, but even with postgraduate certificate in surgery, it doesn't mean that you can do things about genetics. You have to be further qualified. And I'm qualified by the Stanford University as a geneticist. Furthermore, because the regulations are getting even stricter, at least in the United States, so even if you are a geneticist, you're properly certified that way, if you want to offer people genetic testing, you have to be further qualified as a point of testing specialist. So for that, I have further studied in Harvard Medical School, specifically in genetic testing and sequencing technology. Furthermore, I have been certified by the Johns Hopkins University with genomic data science. So all of those locations, genomic changes, transcript, they are all about genomic data science. Okay, so just one more thing that I want to talk to you about, which is the commercial DNA test, whereby, for example, like Circle DNA, 23andMe, they have advertisements on YouTube, whereby all you need to do is just go to their website, order the relevant package, they will send you a parcel where you take your saliva and send it back to them in a test tube. Then they will be able to produce a report that is available on the app of your phone. So this kind of genetic test is suitable for wellness, okay? But they are not exactly the most comprehensive or deep test ever. However, though, we at Verdure Healthcare, we will take your blood sample, okay? Because we want to make sure that the test results are 99.9% accurate because they have clinical use. So clinical or non-clinical, what's the difference? Okay, clinical genetic test, it means that there might be follow-up solution or follow-up work to do, such as, touch wood, if let's say you and your partner has the same disease, for example, the adrenal hyperplasia, then we need to send you off to IVF. And with that, we need clinical genetic tests. But obviously, if you want to do commercial DNA testing just for your health and well-being, please, by all means, do that. Okay, so if let's say, regardless of your result, whether or not you are carrying the same disease, we would strongly encourage you to enhance the quality of your sperms and egg cells before you get pregnant. Because there are diseases like Down syndrome that is not inherited from the parents. Whereas, whereby when the sperm and egg cells, they divide and duplicate, there is something wrong in them. Okay, so this is not detectable before you get pregnant. In that case, we need to lower the risk by enhancing the quality of the sperm and egg cells. And with that, we have 3 award-winning supplements, fertility supplements, that has been chosen by the Reader's Choice Award 2021. So Reader's Choice Award is given by the Baby Talk Mama Papa Media. They are a magazine and online media. Okay, whereby our VHC formula female 1 and female 2, okay, they enhance the menstrual functions, ovulation function, and also the egg quality in ladies. And whereas for male, we have the VHC formula male that enhances the quantity of the sperm, the swimming capability, and also the shape of the sperms. And furthermore, we have an extra supplement called the VHC confinement, which actually helps you to recover after labor, after delivering the baby. And furthermore, I would like to take this chance to thank everyone that has been supporting Verdure Healthcare for the past, because back in 2021, we have been awarded the Super Brands. And this year, 2022, we have also been awarded the Super Brand for consecutively 2 years. You can visit our Facebook page, okay, and then you will be able to see the relevant articles. And okay, here's the moment of truth, third step, conception, natural pregnancy or IVF. So if let's say you're not carrying any mutations at all, then by all means you can get pregnant naturally. And we have something called the home artificial insemination, IUI, okay, that is only at 1/50th price of an IVF cycle, whereby all you need to do is just 3 very simple steps. Number 1 is to chart your menstrual cycle. Number 2 is to check and confirm ovulation. And the third step will be to use the Iui Kit to take out the sperm and also to inject that directly into the womb. So this is the first step. You track your menstrual cycle over here by measuring your basal body temperature with a thermometer. If you are ovulating, you can see the bump in the temperature, okay? Because there is a surge of the fertility hormone called the luteinizing hormone. And once that happens, you can use our short-step LH ovulation test kit that we've imported from the United Kingdom, whereby you can see if, let's say, you are positive. Okay, luckily this is not COVID. You don't want to see this in your COVID test, but if you see that in your LH ovulation test, then you are ovulating. And if that's the case, you can use the third step, which is the Iui Kit, whereby there is a long component, blue color, whereby there is a syringe to collect the sperm cells from your partner, and you can use this blue component and inject the sperm directly into the womb. Okay, so as you can see, it's very easy to use. Just assemble the hose and put that hose into the blue component, and then use the syringe to take out to extract the sperm cells that your partner has given you, and then put the syringe into the hose and use the blue component and inject the sperm cells. Okay, who's suitable? In this case, if let's say male with lower sperm count, poor motility or abnormal shape, this is a perfect solution. And for ladies with high amounts of antibodies or suffering from recurrent genital infection or pain during intercourse, that will also be perfect. But if, let's say, you are carrying a certain genetic disease, such as adrenal hyperplasia, what do you need to do? Why do we refer you to IVF? It is because we need something called the pre-implantation genetic screening, which is done, right after the sperm and the egg cells have been combined together to make an embryo for about 5 to 6 days afterwards. Okay, so during this critical stage, we will be testing your embryo, whereby we'll take just a small piece of cells in order to test if, let's say, there's any disease that has been inherited. Okay, but why not just everyone go for IVF? Why not just everyone go with PGS-PGD? One problem is money, because if you search on Google, you can easily arrive at a cost of about 35 to 50,000 on top of your IVF cycle, which is about 18 to 20,000. Previously, we have clients spending about 83,000 ringgit just on one cycle with PGS-PGD. But of course, if let's say, just to be blunt, use this amount of money to buy the health of your next generation, it is well worth it if let's say you have carrying diseases. So at Verdure Healthcare, we have many partners, including Genomics Lab, DNA Lab, BP Path Lab, which we have been cooperating for many years, Alpha Fertility, TMC Fertility, Sunway, Thompson. These are the fertility centers that we work closely with, and also Sonovision and Gribbles. These are okay, so last but not least, just one more thing before we end the session. Your genes determine your baby's lifetime health. And once again, genetic disease is very hard to cure, and at least according to the medical technology now, it is not able to get fully cured. So the best way is to prevent it. With that being said, we look forward to hearing from you. So if you're currently planning for a pregnancy, please do give us a call so that we can give you extra information about our pre-pregnancy DNA screening. This video will be put onto the YouTube, so please, if you do have time, have a look at this video again to know more about genetic diseases, the way how it works, and I hope that you can subscribe to our channel, like this video, and also share it to your friends and family, the ones who are planning for pregnancy. Thank you so much, and next time I will be answering some questions from NIPT. See you next time.